Welcome back, Officers of the Republic. It's your course on Enroll Police Chief APGAINS. And I recently talked about this on a Patreon roster review that we were doing the other day. And it's preparing for GL Thrawn. Now, it was in the context of someone who's 9 million GP and has all but Rey. Not applicable to most people. But it got me thinking, how is this going to affect the average player? Now, there's some things that we can do right now that aren't going to be, APGAINS is telling us that this thing that has 0%, no, he has 0% knowledge that's going to come. Why would I waste resources preparing for something that's a phantom, pun intended? That was a Phoenix joke for those of you guys who didn't get that. The point I'm going to try to make is that we can put ourselves in a good enough position without wasting any resources. But what I mean by that is, there are certain things that we know to be true and certain things that we can assume to be true and then certain things that we hope to be true. Now, the things that we know to be true are that there are plenty of Imperial Trooper / Empire / potentially Imperial Remnant characters that are going to be applicable to the new raid. Now, if the new raid has commensurate rewards as the previous one, it could be well worth trying to improve these teams to get better rewards, not only from the personal track, but mostly to help out your guild in the aggregate. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to move up guilds while preparing for something selfishly. Make the decision based on what you will. There are plenty of Imperial Trooper and Empire characters that are indeed requirements, not just the Rebel characters, where you can get value out of the raid, but also potentially predict requirements for the Thrawn Galactic Legend. Now, the things that we know, that's the stuff that we know to be true, that we can do character-specific prep to relics, reasonable relics, don't go too fucking crazy. Character-specific improvements to affect what we know. What we kind of know, the maybe, not the outlandish. So we did the good, we're going to do the bad, is the next conquest is probably going to be Beskar Armor Gideon, which will come with his own team. Maybe it requires other Gideon to be on his team, who knows. But that is another opportunity to take either the characters that you improved for the raid or other characters that we believe could potentially be useful in that lineup to make that backbone team even more powerful. Now, it's no secret that the meta has shifted very quickly away from Galactic Legends and instead into backbone teams through Conquest specifically, but occasionally other legendary events that happen to come around from time to time, but mostly Conquest characters. A good example would be characters like Malicos, who are going to be hitting the game today, tomorrow, I don't know, something like that. I'm not sure 100% when Conquest finally finishes up. Where the fuck is my backboner teams? Am I completely blind? I'm literally looking at it. I'm a fucking idiot. So there's plenty of Conquest / legendary characters where we can get insane offensive defensive viability there, and I believe Moff Gideon to be no different. Now, we did the good, which is the guaranteed. We did the bad, which is the maybe / a little speculative, and now we go to the ugly, which is the total and unimaginably ridiculous speculation and stuff like that, which is that GL Thrawn's gonna happen. And all of this other stuff is going to come in there as well. Now, I don't think this is nearly as bad as I just described it, because I think this last part, post Imperial Trooper / Imperial Remnant upgrades for Raid / Gideon, I imagine that the rest of the Phoenix characters in some capacity will likely be requirements for a potential GL Thrawn. Now, the reason that I don't think this is as bad as people think is, yes, I'm not a huge fan of the Phoenix until Captain Rex came to the game. But even when his Datacron is not here anymore, and let's be honest, his Datacron is making him super fucking good, better than he should be. This is still a high-power, high-value team that I'm kind of waiting to see what happens post Captain Rex Datacron, but I would not at all be upset with him being, or this team being, like a low-level backbone team where it's like, this is a team that fits into the pyramid scheme of success, of sadness, of success. It gives you great offensive, defensive viability, potentially. I'm not sure how good it holds up on defense without the Datacron. And will likely, in that completely hypothetical space, be a requirement for a Galactic Legend Thrawn. I imagine that his requirements will be a couple of marquee characters from the Ahsoka show, a couple of Phoenix characters that aren't already requirements, a couple of Imperial Remnant characters, plus potentially Conquest Gideon, since they seem to be moving in that direction with the ships at least, but if not, Gideon being a lifter character for that Galactic Legend Thrawn. As far as marquee characters that I anticipate coming for a potential Galactic Legend Thrawn event, maybe a final legendary-like booster to the Night Sisters. We already got Marin, but I imagine that Morgan Elsbeth, I can't remember if that's what her name is, but that sounds correct enough. Being a lifter for potential Night Sister / Imperial Remnant, maybe a flex back and forth. Could be nice for the Sisters of the Night or the Imperial Remnants, depending on how they like to utilize her. I would imagine a more updated version of either Ahsoka or Sabine. A lot of people are leaning in the direction that the final version of Ahsoka in the show will likely be Galactic Legend that pairs with Thrawn. In that case, we probably get like a more powerful Ezra, like a Conquest Ezra, just like we're getting a Conquest Gideon. I'm not going to speculate too wildly much in that respect as far as where I think extra Ezras are going to come from or anything like that. But the two Sith characters plus maybe a random marquee HK droid or something like that, or whoever he decides to bring along with him back from some distant, far-off galaxy. Maybe we get a fucking Purgle raid. I don't know. We're kind of in the deep end of speculation where everything goes wild and wacky and crazy. But if you're in a situation where you finished up longer-term farms, or you are, like the patron, shout out Sean, where you're at a point where it's like you kind of have everything. What am I supposed to do? I don't think it's the end of the world to employ these strategies because, like I said, like you can get good solid value out of Phoenix, out of Imperial Troopers, out of Imperial Remnants, out of Empire. You're not going to be super upset with, adding auxiliary / potential backbone teams plus adding, adding characters for the raids to do more damage. I'm sure your guild will be very happy with that. There is value to be gained from doing this. Is it something that I would do as an early to mid-game player? No, probably not. But once we see the official announcement of the next Conquest character, and assuming it's Gideon, I will likely go into some Imperial Remnant upgrades. I will probably forego Jabba. I'm not sure. Post Leia, post Cal, post Malicos, I'll probably lean into Gideon Remnant because I think Thrawn would just be so cool. I'll likely grab Chrysanthemum, not for Jabba, but to throw in Afra and something like that. But yeah, that's my thoughts there. So let's join the Patreon. At this point, there's just unbelievable value with AI farming guide tool / we'll probably add some other things. The alpha will come out soon for patrons to test out and have fun with. Roster view streams that we missed because I got yelled at by some patrons for doing it too early, and I have to find a date or a later time that works better on Sundays for people. / the Discord / there's just too much fucking value there for you to not give APGAINS $5 to $10 a month because your penis would be gigantic and your wife would love you. All right, goodbye.